Hey everybody, it's Alanna Pearl, your conscious lawyer, and this is the first episode of Coffee with Conscious Counsel. I've got my llama coffee cup here, and this is a totally new thing. I don't really know what I'm doing. We'll see where it takes me. This is something I've wanted to do for a while. I have no experience doing a podcast or a video show or anything like that. I have no high-tech equipment. I am making this video on my iPad. Hair and makeup by me. I don't have a jingle, so maybe I'll just sing something for you. Coffee with Conscious Counsel. There you go. We'll see where this goes. But yeah, you know what? I'm doing a new thing these days, and that is putting myself out there even when it's not perfect and even when I don't feel like I have everything planned out exactly how I'd want, because I want people to know the real me. And so here I am. And a couple weeks ago, I asked on Facebook for people to give me some questions for the first Coffee with Conscious Counsel. And I did get a couple questions, so I'm gonna look at those right now. The first one was from Lydia Joy Ayers, and her question is about estate planning. And she asked, do those of us without significant estates need to worry about it much? Is there a way to make an estate plan that naturally grows as the estate does, or does it need to be rewritten as assets change? So Lydia, that's a really great question. A lot of people think that, I talk a lot about estate planning these days. If you follow me at all lately, you've probably heard me talking about estate planning, which I also call legal life planning. And one question that a lot of people have is whether or not this is something they need to worry about if they don't have what they would consider an estate, if you don't really have much in terms of assets yet. So the reality is that every single person over age 18 should have at least some basic foundational planning in place. And if you don't have a ton of assets, that may not mean that you have to do anything complicated, but at the very least, you should have a will, and you should have a power of attorney, and you should have a healthcare directive. And those are documents that are going to protect you in the event of the last two are going to protect you in the event of your incapacity, especially. And this is something that is really important for anybody over the age of 18. The reason for that is that if something happens to you and you become incapacitated, you want the people that you've decided ahead of time to have the legal authority to make decisions for you, either when it comes to your property and your finances and paying your bills and taking care of all the things that you take care of for yourself on a daily basis, or when it comes to medical decisions, you want the people that you've decided ahead of time making those decisions for you, not hospital policies or not somebody that a hospital chooses or even a court chooses. And you want to make sure that those people have the instructions that you want. You want them to be making decisions based on what you've told them you want. Otherwise, they're really just guessing in the dark. So everybody doing some type of legal life planning is, in my opinion, really part of living consciously and living responsibly. And you can get very specific about what you would want. You can also do things like decide what would happen with your digital assets. That's a really big part of legal life planning now. That is part of any comprehensive plan. And also just making sure that the people that you love and care about know what to do in the event that something happens to you. That really has nothing to do with how much money you have. So absolutely, everybody should have at least a basic foundational estate plan in place. And I think the second part of your question, Lydia, was, is there any way to make an estate plan that naturally grows as the estate does? Absolutely. So estate planning documents are completely changeable, revocable, amendable. In fact, they should be. And that's actually a problem with a lot of estate planning out there, is that it's a one and done thing, or at least people think it is. They go and spend a ton of money with a lawyer, and they get an estate plan completed, maybe for thousands of dollars, and then those documents sit in a shelf and nothing happens with them. And the family's dynamics change, the assets change, the goals change, but the estate plan doesn't change. And so this is something that I really actually make sure does not happen to anybody that works with me. We include reviews in all of our plans, and the purpose of that is to amend the estate plan as, as you said here, Lydia, as your estate grows or as your life changes. That is part of the plan that we put in place. And our goal really is to be your lifetime lawyer to help you as time goes on and as things change, so that we can make sure that your estate plan does keep up with your life. And by the way, Lydia and Christina's question is going to be next. You were the only two people that offered questions for this first Coffee with Conscious Counsel. And so I am going to offer both of you a free healthcare directive as a thank you for posing the first questions. I had said that it was going to be a lottery, but since there's only the two of you, I'd like to offer that to both of you. So I will get in touch with you offline about making sure that we schedule you for that and get your healthcare directives in place. So the next question is from Christina. Christina had a couple questions. I'm just going to do one of them so that I don't make this too long today. And maybe I'll answer the next one next time, Christina. But Christina Frey, a great friend of mine, she actually has an awesome business, Christina Frey Insurance Agency. And I highly, highly recommend her to anybody who is looking for any type of insurance, especially long-term care insurance. One thing that I'm realizing for myself and my clients is that the cost of long-term care is really exorbitant, and that's not something that maybe we really think about or take into consideration when we think about planning for the long-term and retirement planning. And the average cost of long-term care, according to Christina, is $10,000 per month currently. And that's money that would basically have to be paid out of your own assets if you don't have any type of insurance to pay for that. So definitely get in touch with Christina Frey. I will tag her in this video or in the comments if that's something that you want to look into for yourself or for your parents. But Christina's question is, what happens to minor children if there is no guardianship paper in place and the parents get arrested or sick or die? That is a great question, Christina, and this is something that I also talk about a lot. And it's the reason that we put in place a kids protection plan with every estate plan that we do that when the family has minor children. So what happens when there's no planning? Well, in an immediate basis, and this is the part that can be really scary, is that in the event of an emergency, if the police showed up to a home and say the children were there with a babysitter, if there was no legal documents or legal authority or a clear plan in place of what is supposed to happen in these immediate hours after an emergency, then the police really have no choice but to take custody of the children, take them into their custody, and take them into the care of Child Protective Services until they can figure out what to do. And that might be until, a grandparent is able to be located and shows up, or that might be until a court can appoint a guardian. But that is really what the worst case scenario is that children end up in the care of strangers in an emergency situation. Now that can be avoided through putting in place a temporary guardianship nomination. So this is not long-term guardians, which is often done by a will, although we do it as a standalone document because in an emergency, where's the will? Does anybody know where the will is? Probably not. But you can avoid this as ever being any type of risk for your family by doing a short-term guardianship nomination or temporary guardianship nomination. And what that is it's a legal document that you designate, that you sign ahead of time, designating persons that are local. They're not necessarily the people that you would choose as your long-term guardians for your children in the event of your death, but local people who could be there within 15, 20 minutes in an emergency and would have this document in place or in hand, which by the way, we are going to mail it to them and make sure that they have it and know what to do. And they can show up and say, we're here, we have legal authority from the parents to take the children with us. Thank you very much. And in that event, then the police have covered their basis, and they are not going to be at risk of having liability. There's a legal document there saying that these people who have shown up can take custody of the children. So that's the short term. The long term is that somebody is going to have to step up and go to court, since the parents didn't nominate somebody ahead of time, to be nominated and appointed as the guardian, the full legal guardian of the children. And the problem with not naming anybody ahead of time is that anybody now who believes that they are the right choice can go to court and ask the judge to be appointed. And this can really result in some serious conflict in families. In fact, it does all the time. And I tell a story about the Barber family in my presentation that I just did at Wine and Will's last week, and we'll be doing again, which I'll talk about in a minute here. But that exact situation happened, and it turned into major conflict and major attorney's fees, and really ripped a family apart because the parents passed away in a car accident, didn't name guardians, and there was fighting and conflict among the family about who should be the guardians of the 3 boys that survived their parents. So yeah, really, ultimately, at the end of the day, without planning for minor children, if in the event of an emergency or death, you're guaranteeing court and potentially conflict for your family. And that is why we include what I call a kids protection plan in all of our plans for minor children that takes care of all these contingencies and makes sure that the family is never in this type of situation in the event of an emergency or death. So those are the questions for today. I hope that was informative for you. And now I just want to tell you all about an awesome event and that I'm very excited about, happening on December 18th. It is a Build-A-Bar workshop. We're calling it Chocolate and Counsel. And this is the second in our series that we started on last week. Well, the first one was Wine and Will's. It's at a great venue in South Park. It's called Eclipse Chocolate Bar and Bistro. It's very cute. They have an awesome private back room where we can all hang out and socialize and have a lot of fun and get a little education on what you really need to know when it comes to your legal life planning from yours truly. So the first event had really great feedback, rave reviews. It was awesome. We had so much fun. We drank wine and ate chocolate, and so we're doing it again. We're actually going to do this on a monthly basis. But the next one is December 18th. This is going to be our holiday event, and Eclipse actually has a chocolate bar building workshop. This is very exciting. I'm very excited for this, where they bring out all the ingredients and they show you how to make your own chocolate bar. So we're going to do that, and then while the bars are chilling, I am going to entertain you with my jokes and my way of talking about these topics that are probably kind of hard topics, but I try to keep it light and fun and entertaining. And yeah, it's just going to be a really great time. So we can only have 40 people. And believe it or not, I was so excited. We had over 40 people at our last event. So please do register. I will put the registration link in the comments below as well. And I'm looking forward to seeing a lot of you there. So yeah, guys, that's it for today. And thank you so much for joining me on my first coffee with Conscious Counsel. I should at least take one sip of my coffee, well, since that's the point of what we're doing here. There we go. And I will be doing this more often, and I'm not going to tell you how often because things are crazy busy right now, which is awesome. It's so exciting. My practice is growing, and we're doing all kinds of new and exciting things. I'm putting myself out there in ways that have felt a little scary, but it's what I want to do. I want you guys to know the real me. I want you guys to feel like you can call me when you have a problem, when something comes up, and that I am going to be here for you. And part of that is being my real self and showing up as my real self even when things aren't perfect. So that said, I can't promise you how often this podcast or video show or whatever we're going to call it is going to happen, because I don't want to make a commitment that I don't live up to. But I'll just say my intention is to do it often. And I'm excited to see where it goes. Hopefully it'll turn into something real and something that has a following and a viewership, and maybe I'll even get a little equipment. So thank you guys so much. Have a great week, and looking forward to connecting with you soon. Take care.